Have you ever wondered why certain doors in your life remain closed no matter how hard you push? Why poverty clings to some families like a shadow? Or why curses seem to repeat generation after generation? There are forces unseen, energies that bind, and rituals that unlock. Tonight, I will share with you the ancient practice of burning the most feared incense at midnight, and how in just 30 seconds, chains of witchcraft, curses, and poverty can begin to shatter. But you must listen closely, for this wisdom is not to entertain, it is to transform. When we speak about midnight, most people think of it simply as another hour on the clock, a time when the world is quiet, when the streets are empty, and when most of us are asleep. But spiritually, midnight is not just another number. Midnight is a threshold, a doorway, a sacred pause between the ending of one day and the birth of another. It is the hour when the veil between the seen and unseen becomes thinner, when forces that often remain hidden begin to move with greater intensity. It is no coincidence that many ancient traditions, spiritual practices, and even battles of faith have been fought in the stillness of this time. Midnight carries a mystery, and if you know how to engage it, you can unlock power that changes the course of your life. Think about it. Darkness is not only the absence of light, it is also the time when silence magnifies everything. In the silence of midnight, there are fewer distractions. The noise of the world has calmed, human activity has slowed, and in that quiet, spiritual currents become clearer. Midnight has always been a strategic moment. Those who operate in witchcraft and curses often choose this time to cast their spells, because they know the strength of the unseen is heightened when the world is at rest. But just as this hour can be used for evil, it can also be claimed for good. What was designed to oppress you can become the very tool that sets you free if you step into it with wisdom. Midnight represents transition. It is the closing of one chapter and the opening of another. That means what you do in this sacred hour carries a weight far greater than you may realize. When you pray at midnight, your words pierce deeper. When you burn incense at midnight, the smoke does not only rise into the air, it carries your intent, your cleansing. You're breaking free into the realm where curses, fears, and bondages lose their grip. Midnight is like standing at a crossroads where your past can be cut off and your future can be written anew. You see, every day begins in darkness before the light comes. The first breath of a new day is always in midnight's womb. If you can take hold of this hour, if you can use it not for fear but for liberation, then you will discover that you are not powerless. That incense you burn at midnight becomes more than a fragrance. It becomes a weapon, an offering, a declaration that the cycle of poverty and curse ends here and now. It tells the darkness that you are awake, aware, and unwilling to be bound any longer. And this is why the incense at midnight is not a ritual of superstition, but a reclaiming of divine timing. You are not just waiting for change, you are commanding it in the very hour that the world least expects it. This is the secret of midnight, and it is where your breakthrough begins. When we talk about witchcraft, many people imagine it as something distant, something that belongs in old stories, legends, or films. But the truth is, witchcraft is not always dramatic or obvious. It works in silence, in subtle patterns, in the invisible threads that weave themselves into daily life without you even realizing it. Witchcraft is not only about rituals or curses performed in the dark. It is about influence, manipulation, and unseen forces that hold a person back from their true path. It plants seeds in the unseen world, seeds that grow into fear, confusion, loss, and endless cycles of struggle. You may wonder why some families experience poverty for generations, as though no matter how much effort is poured into work, the results vanish into thin air. You may question why certain individuals carry a weight of misfortune, doors closing repeatedly even when opportunity seems so close. These are not always coincidences. Witchcraft works by planting limitations in the spirit, ensuring that a person walks in circles, never breaking through into freedom. And because it moves quietly, many accept their condition as fate without recognizing that an unseen hand is holding them down. One of the most dangerous aspects of witchcraft is its ability to cloak itself in normalcy. It makes failure seem ordinary. It makes fear feel natural. It makes poverty appear permanent. It dulls awareness so that the person caught within its grip does not even fight back. That is why so many live years, even decades, under its weight without ever confronting it. They mistake bondage for destiny. But the truth is, witchcraft is not destiny, it is interference. It is an intruder in the story of your life, an enemy that enters uninvited and seeks to write chapters that do not belong to you. The purpose of witchcraft is always the same: to limit, to suppress, to keep light from shining fully. It is not satisfied with you surviving, it wants to keep you from thriving. It does not want you to see your potential or step into your calling. And because of that, confronting witchcraft is not just about resisting evil, it is about reclaiming the life that was meant for you. The reason incense, prayer, and midnight rituals hold such power is because they directly confront this silent weight. They do not allow it to remain hidden. They expose it, and once exposed, it loses its strength. When the incense burns, its fragrance cuts through the unseen, its smoke fills the space, and its energy disrupts the structures that witchcraft has built. It announces that you will no longer be held down by silent chains. Witchcraft thrives in the shadows, but it cannot survive when you bring your awareness, your intention, and your authority into the light of the midnight hour. That is why we confront it, not in fear, but in certainty that what binds must break, and what has been stolen must be restored. Incense is often misunderstood. To some, it is nothing more than a fragrance, something used to create atmosphere or a pleasant environment. But in the deeper sense, incense is far more than just smoke rising from burning herbs. Across countless cultures and traditions, it has always been recognized as a bridge between the physical and the spiritual. When incense burns, it transforms solid matter into invisible essence, into fragrance that travels, into smoke that rises. That transformation is symbolic. It shows us how what is seen can become unseen, how what is heavy can become light, how what is bound can be released. This is why incense has always been a tool for cleansing and protection, a spiritual weapon that carries intention beyond the limits of the human voice. The power of incense lies not only in the material it is made from, but in the energy carried through its burning. Certain mixtures of herbs and resins hold vibrations that purify the air, disrupt negative forces, and repel the presence of curses. These are not superstitions, they are observations made for centuries. Just as certain plants heal the body, others heal the spirit. When the flame touches incense, it awakens these hidden properties and releases them into your space. The smoke is not merely fragrance, it is a message, a declaration, a force that confronts what the eye cannot see. When you burn incense in the hour of midnight, it multiplies in strength because the atmosphere is quiet, the veil is thin, and the spiritual plane is active. In that silence, the rising smoke cuts through stagnation. It moves through the unseen layers of your environment, carrying with it a frequency that witchcraft cannot endure. Curses are weakened by it. Poverty, which often clings like an invisible fog, begins to scatter. Fear loses its grip because the air itself is transformed into something that nourishes instead of drains. It is not just about cleansing the room around you. It is about cleansing the field that surrounds your life, the space where energies are exchanged, and the battleground where your future is either built or broken. This is why incense has been called a weapon. Weapons are not always sharp blades or heavy stones. Sometimes they are subtle, quiet, invisible, yet far more effective. When incense burns with intention, it is like lifting a shield around your home, like drawing a sword in the unseen. It speaks to the energies that have lingered too long, telling them they no longer have the right to remain. The smoke fills every corner where shadows try to hide, leaving no place untouched. You must understand that the act of burning incense is not about ritual for the sake of ritual. It is about aligning yourself with the deeper laws of spirit. It is about taking authority in your environment and refusing to let it be occupied by what drains your strength. Each breath of smoke is a statement of freedom. Each spark of fire a reminder that what is heavy can be lifted, and what is broken can be made whole. That is why incense, when burned with the right intent, becomes a force that cannot be ignored, and it is why it has been feared by those who operate in darkness. There is something extraordinary about the moment incense touches fire and begins to release its essence. Within seconds, the atmosphere shifts. The smoke begins to rise, and with it, an unseen vibration flows into the air. This is why I say the breakthrough happens in 30 seconds. It does not take hours, it does not take endless rituals, because when spirit responds, it responds instantly. The transformation begins the very moment you act with clarity and intention. What has been stagnant for years, what has been tied down for generations, can begin to unravel in less time than it takes to catch a single breath. Many people believe freedom must be long and drawn out, that curses take years to undo, or that poverty can only end through endless struggle. But what they do not realize is that these forces hold power only as long as they remain unchallenged. The moment you release something into the air that carries authority, the moment you awaken the force of intention through a sacred act, the stronghold begins to tremble. This is why the burning of incense at midnight is not a small gesture. It is a direct confrontation with what has kept you bound. The energy shifts immediately because light does not ask darkness for permission to enter. When fire is lit, darkness retreats without negotiation. Consider how quickly light fills a room when you flip a switch. Darkness does not linger, it does not resist, it vanishes at once. In the same way, when the incense begins to burn, the chains of witchcraft and the weight of curses are confronted by a force they cannot withstand. Within seconds, the air testifies to a new order. Poverty, which often feels like an invisible net woven around the life of a person, begins to unravel thread by thread. The mind becomes clearer, the spirit lighter, and the environment more receptive to blessing. This is not imagination. It is the reality of spiritual law in motion. The 30-second breakthrough is not about time as measured by the clock, it is about immediacy. It is about knowing that transformation does not need to be delayed, that you do not need to wait years for freedom to begin. In the instant you step into alignment, in the moment you ignite what carries cleansing, the shift is already happening. From there, it grows, it strengthens, and it continues to build, but the beginning is immediate. That is why so many testimonies throughout history speak of sudden release, sudden clarity, sudden peace, all tied to a single decisive act taken at the right moment. Do not underestimate what can happen in half a minute. Those seconds may carry the weight of your entire future. The act may look simple, but its effect is profound, because in those moments, curses lose their foundation, and the walls that held you in place begin to fall. This is the secret of the 30-second breakthrough, and this is how freedom enters without delay. When curses are present, life feels like an uphill battle. Nothing flows easily. Opportunities that seem within reach suddenly disappear. Relationships that should bring peace become heavy, and the path ahead feels blocked by obstacles that never make sense. Curses are like invisible weights, pressing down not only on the individual, but often on entire families, dragging them through repeated cycles of loss, sickness, and disappointment. Yet, just as curses are real, so is their breaking. The moment the spiritual atmosphere shifts, what once felt immovable begins to dissolve, and what was closed begins to open. That is where the transformation into blessing begins. When incense burns, it is not only scattering darkness, it is creating space for light to enter. In the absence of curses, blessings flow more freely. It is like removing stones from a riverbed so the water can run without obstruction. Many times, blessings are already surrounding a person, waiting to pour into their life, but the invisible barriers of witchcraft and poverty block the flow. The moment those barriers weaken, the blessings begin to manifest. What looked like constant struggle becomes replaced with unexpected opportunities, clarity of mind, and a sense of peace that was long absent. The shift from curse to blessing is often subtle at first, like the dawn slowly replacing the night. A heaviness lifts, confusion clears, and you begin to see new possibilities where before there was only frustration. Relationships begin to heal, health improves, and even finances start to align in ways that once seemed impossible. It is not magic. It is simply the natural order of life reasserting itself once interference has been removed. Just as sickness leaves the body when the right medicine is applied, curses leave when the right spiritual fire is lit, and blessings are not only material. True blessing is wholeness, peace within yourself, strength in your mind, and clarity in your purpose. When curses are broken, the constant feeling of being drained or lost is replaced by an inner assurance that you are moving in the right direction. Your environment changes, your relationships shift, and your inner state transforms. That is why blessings cannot be measured only in wealth or success. Blessings are the alignment of your life with the energy of growth, freedom, and abundance. The beauty of this transformation is that it does not only affect you. When one person breaks free from curses, it creates a ripple through their family and even generations to come. The cycles that kept repeating in the past lose their power, and a new inheritance of strength and blessing is established. This is why the act of confronting curses is not only for personal gain, but for those who will come after you. From curses to blessings is not just a phrase, it is a reality that unfolds the moment the atmosphere of your life is reclaimed. And when that shift happens, you will know it deeply, because what once weighed you down will no longer have any power to remain. The power of a ritual is not only in the moment it is performed, but in the life that follows it. Burning incense at midnight may break curses, scatter witchcraft, and open the way for blessings, but what matters most is how you continue to walk after that door has been opened. Too many people experience a moment of release only to fall back into old patterns, and when that happens, the very forces they were freed from find their way back in. Freedom must be guarded, nurtured, and strengthened. otherwise it becomes temporary instead of lasting. The truth is, when the atmosphere shifts in your life, you are given an opportunity, a clean space where new seeds can be planted. What you allow to take root in that space will determine whether your freedom grows or whether it fades. If you fill it with fear, negativity, or the same habits that once invited curses, then the cycle continues. But if you fill it with clarity, discipline, and protection, then the blessing will remain. Think of it like cleaning a house. Once the dust and dirt are swept away, the house feels fresh. But if you leave the windows open to the storm and never maintain it, the dust will return. The same is true for the spiritual house of your life. Continuing the path of freedom means creating an environment that cannot host the energies that once oppressed you. It means speaking words of strength instead of words of defeat, choosing actions that align with blessing rather than with bondage, and protecting your space with awareness. This does not require fear, it requires responsibility. The incense may break the chains in 30 seconds, but what you build afterward will determine whether those chains can ever return. Poverty, fear, and curses thrive in chaos, in neglect, and in unawareness. But when you walk forward with discipline, when you guard your heart, your home, and your mind, these forces find no room to settle. And the beauty of this path is that it does not only protect, it strengthens. Every step you take in awareness increases your authority. Every decision to remain aligned deepens your freedom. And every day you choose clarity, the blessing in your life grows more stable. The new path of freedom is not a single event, it is a way of life. It is choosing every day to remain awake rather than slipping back into sleep, to remain aware rather than drifting into distraction. It is refusing to allow the shadows of yesterday to reclaim the light you have found. And once you walk in this clarity, you discover something profound. Freedom is not fragile, it is powerful. It multiplies as you live it, and it becomes a shield not only for you but for those connected to you. The incense begins the journey, but the way you walk after ensures it will never be undone.